Well, let's move on now to the search for solutions. We were hearing earlier in the show about the Earthshot Prize. It is, of course, Prince William's campaign to find solutions and innovation to tackle climate change from across the world. Around half of those finalists announced today were from the global south. Well, what does that say about our search for solutions? I mean, Judy, there's a real simplicity to some of these shortlisted solutions, isn't there? I mean, Costa Rica making micropayments to people to just do their bit to protect a little bit of rainforest.
Absolutely. There are things that only governments can do, and that's where all the protests and pressure comes on. But indeed, there's some things that individuals, sections of society like business, NGOs and so on can do, and they do it well because they're in touch with very local characteristics and cultural dimensions. Take the case of 14-year-old Phoenicia. She notices that in her country, millions of people still use street ironing surfaces, and she's created a solar-powered ironing cart in a very sunny country to make a difference. It is amazing. And I applaud Prince William for saying that he needs to be able to look his children in the eye and say he did his bit. As much as we live in a science-dominated world, it's still our emotions and our commitment to family that drives our strongest motivation to act and to be fascinated, inspired by people that look like us, having amazing solutions.
It's important to note, though, James, isn't it, that there are no British shortlistees on that list. Many of the ideas there were shortlisted from the global south. Are we a bit arrogant in thinking that it's G7 Western nations that really have the answers here?
I think there's a risk of that. I think there's a risk of in every part of the world is that countries see the climate crisis and the sort of the clean tech revolution that will hopefully help resolve it as these kind of national, local, regional issues. But that's true everywhere. And one of the most exciting things about some of the stories we cover at Business Green is the huge breadth of innovation and investment that we're seeing in all parts of the world, including very much in these emerging markets and in the developing world. I mean, there's one of these talking points you get a lot from people who are opposed to climate action who say, well, what about China? What about India? What about these big polluting countries that are investing in coal? Yes, they are, but they're also, in China's case, the world's biggest renewables market, the world's biggest electric vehicle market. And we are seeing some catalyzing progress from some of these countries that are, in some ways, because they don't have the legacy high carbon infrastructure, they're able to leapfrog that and deploy clean technologies at scale, at pace, ahead of some industrialized nations. So it's much more simplistic than the idea that the industrialized world's going to solve this on its own and then kind of through its largesse help developing countries. I think that, that is a borderline neo-colonialist way to see it.
Necessity is often the mother of invention, isn't it? It's been really good to talk to you both tonight. Judy, Ling, Wong and James Murray, thank you.